Hello and welcome to Katrina's Creations. Today I am going to be doing probably a long video, but we are going to be talking about crochet and knitting supplies, storage for crochet and knitting supplies, and my favorite crochet and knitting supplies and ways to store things. And all of the links that I'm going to talk about, all of the items that I'm going to talk about are going to be linked down below in the description box if you want to check them out. Just click the bold word more and they'll all open up and you can see where I got all these items, or where you can get them, because some of the places I got them from, I've found them other places that might be a little more cheaper or quicker to arrive. So I did, because you know I'm cheap, look for the cheapest price of these items that I could find. So yeah, with that, let's get started. So the very first favorite item I have is this backpack. This thing is a workhorse. It really is. It's very well made. You can use it as a backpack. It has padded shoulder straps here, but you can also use it to, let's see if I can lift this up. It does have adjusters on here, so you can make the straps bigger or smaller, but they are padded along here and they're well made. They're actually sewn into a second band here, so they are really sturdy. But if you don't want to use it as a backpack, it also has handles that attach. So I like that part of it. So let me lower the camera so I don't have to keep holding this up, and I'll show you what's in here. Okay, this is made of, it looks like paisley material, but it's actually a vinyl, so it can be wiped up. You're not going to see my face here because I'm going to be focusing on the bag. So the bag itself, the back part where the straps are, has, and it also is actually riveted in here too, but it has a pocket in the back, and this is where I keep my magnetic chart keeper. So that fits in here, and it has a Velcro edge, so you could actually shut this here. If you carried an iPad, you could put that in here. I think it would fit a small iPad or like a Kindle, something like that. Those would all fit in there. Then on this side, there is a zipper pouch that opens up, and it has space. This is where I keep some of my smaller crochet hooks. It also has a vinyl pouch here, which is where I keep some of my smaller double-pointed needles. So there's that, and it has this elastic strap to hold it all in place. It comes with a little detachable, it is on a little latch here, so you can take it off. It has a D-ring, so you could actually hook other things there if you want to put your keys or whatever. It does have that. This little pouch opens up, and inside here, this is just some, well, I'll show you these in a minute. I have some scissors. These are like my favorite scissors. They are super, super sharp. They actually come with a point protector on them so you don't hurt yourself, but they are very, very sharp. They cut all the way to the tip of the scissors. And then in here, these are not a knitting or crochet thing, but it's what I use. When I am seaming things together, these are those little mini clips. You can actually get them at the Dollar Tree, but they're the little mini hair clips. I use them to line up my work, and then you can clip them together, and it holds it in place while you sew them or seam them together. So I just keep them in a little pouch in here. The other side, the other thing on this side of the bag has an open area, which I've just stuck some rulers in, but you could put a water bottle, you could put your phone, all kinds of things in there. It's a nice sized pouch, or like pocket. It goes all the way to the bottom here. So yeah, it's pretty good sized. I can put my whole hand in it up to my wrist. So that's what the other side looks like. And then the front here, move the handle out of the way. The front also unzips. And it has zipper pouches that are see-through up here. There's 2 of them. And then it has space here with the elastic for your crochet hooks. And then the bottom section, and I've got stuff falling out here, but the bottom section has pouches here where I've put my large double pointed needles at. And so that whole thing zips up on the front. Now I'm going to adjust the camera so you can see what the inside of this looks like. So the inside of this has metal along the inside here, so when you open it, it stays open. There's like a frame. Now let me take this out so you can see what it all looks like. This is all Velcroed. Okay, I have some stuff in here, so let me pull it all out. Now you can see the inside. The inside has a spot where you can put your yarn. There is a pocket here. Is there one on both sides? No, there's an elastic pocket here, and there's a zipper right here. That zipper comes out right here. So you can actually plug your like connections right through here. If you want to put your phone and a charger or whatever you wanted to do, yeah, it's got a like an outlet here, and the storage pouch on the inside here is where you could store things and then run it right through there. It also has holes on this side here that you can thread your yarn through if you've got yarn laying in here, so that it doesn't tangle, and it comes out the side right here. There is also elastics along the side here with pockets below, so you could store if you have straight knitting needles. I've stored some Tunisian crochet hooks, the straight ones, in there. But yes, there's holders here that you could put your straight needles in as well. And then there's this section that I pulled out. It Velcros in place. This can go in. I won't hook it all the way up, but it goes in and hooks, and it makes separate compartments, so you could actually stick different skeins of yarn in there, and then it Velcros in place. Or if you're using them, you want a water bottle in one, or whatever you want a compartment for, it does separate. It's not attached at the bottom, it just attaches along the walls, and you can see here's the Velcro pieces where it attaches to. So, or you can just do what I do and leave the whole inside empty, and that's where I throw all of my supplies, my crochet hooks, my knitting needles, all of that stuff. These are vinyl zip pouches. I'll take one of these so you can see it. They open up. This is like a heavy vinyl. They open up, and I can store my knitting needles in them. They actually also can go into like they're meant for planners. So they have holes already punched in them to fit. This particular one is what's called an A5, so it's a 5x8, but you can actually get them in full notebook size if you wanted a larger needle or hook storage. This works for needles or hooks. I have my needles in it. And what I did with mine, see if you can see this, yeah, right at the top edge, I wrote down the US size as well as the millimeter size for each of the needles that are in. I have a pouch for each size needle. And then I hooked them together. These are just notebook ring binders. They come in different sizes. This is the 2-inch one, but that is what I use for my knitting needles. I have used these for quite a few years now, and they have held up real well. I think I've only had one, in fact you can see it doing right here, that's actually punctured through the vinyl, and that's because it was one of the sharper, tinier needles, but otherwise it is held up. I even keep supplies in here for my interchangeable set. In fact, you can see it right here. This is an interchangeable needles, and then I have a second pouch here. This carries all of my different cable sizes as well as my gauge to check it, and all the different parts that go to the interchangeable needles, like the keys and the locks and everything are all in there. So that is what I use for my knitting needle supply, and you can order these, you know, you don't have to order them one at a time. They come in like packs of 6 to 10, things like that. Yeah, I love this system. It has really worked for me well. And because I like it so well, and that particular one is the A5 size, but like I said, they also come in other sizes. They come all the way down to this size, which is an A7. It's a pocket size for a pocket planner. And they go all the way up to the full notebook size. This one, because I liked it so much, I use it for my notions. And I have quite a few on here, but I have all of my cable hooks. These are some fancier markers and stitch markers and progress keepers. These are my favorites. We will get to talking about them in a minute, but those are my favorite knitting markers, stitch markers, as well as progress keepers. Then I have some that are solid loops. I have some decorative ones. I have a couple of decorative ones. I have the ones that look like the little safety pins. And then I have some decorations. I have small cable hooks in here, or stitch holders, point protectors, row counters, and then I have a couple that just have some miscellaneous items in them. A little tip, you will see these are, let me pull it out. This is not something you need to buy, but they do come in handy. This is a bread twisty. You know, they hold your loaf of bread together. When you get them like this, they are actually handy because, you know, you could use them for a stitch marker if you wanted to, but they also work well for winding yarn onto if you have small scraps of yarn left over, or if you are doing some stranded color work where you are actually going back and duplicate stitching in, things like that. Yeah. It also, if you have a long tail left on your knitting or your crochet and you don't want to accidentally knit or crochet it into your work, you can wrap it up with this and it'll stay in place. So just a cheap little hint that I saw somewhere and thought I'd pass it on to you. So this is the notions pouch that I use. And like I said, this is the A7 size, which are like I think they're like 3 1/4 by 5 1/4, 5 1/2, something like that. They're really small. And there is a size in between this, in between this size and this size. There is an in between, and then there's a larger. So those are what I use for my needles and my notion storage. Now my hook storage, you already saw when I showed you the backpack, but I do have another case, and that is this one. This is meant for crochet hooks. I guess you could use it for pens, you could use it for just about anything, but I use it for my Tunisian crochet hooks because it has this little like net section, so I just coil up all the coils in there and the cords, and I put them in here. And then it also, this particular one has a notions pouch. I'm not sure if I can find this one or not, because I've had this for a while, but if I can, I will link it down below as well. But yeah, and it's vinyl, it zips. The notions thing is not detachable in there, but yeah, that's what I use for my Tunisian hooks, but you can also use them for crochet hooks, or if you're into scrapbooking and pens or the adult coloring books, you could put your pens in this as well. It would work well for that. So now I'm going to talk about my favorite crochet hooks. Now, You all know me, I am cheap. I love the clover hooks. Do I own them? No. I have some, and they are linked down below. They're copies of it. You can get them on Amazon, and they're a lot cheaper. I've been very happy with them. This is what they look like. This is just one of them for an example. There you go. And they have the size. It's like incised down at the bottom here. There, you can see it just right here. It's a 6mm. It's kind of getting hard to focus. Sometimes they have it stamped on as well, but what I have found is the ones that have it stamped in black, it's great to see it when you first use it, and then after a while the ink wears off. So this is actually impressed into it. Now this particular one that I'm using just has it listed in millimeters, but some of the hooks that I have give the US size as well. So these are rubber gripped, which I really like. And they have the flat section here for your hand, which would work no matter how you hold your hook. I tend to hold my hooks like a pencil. I don't hold it like a knife. But either way will work with these, and I like the rubber grips. I've been using these for years, and so I do like them. So those are my favorite hooks that I use. Now my needles. I'm going to show you my favorite needles because, again, you know I am cheap. I have some expensive needles. Some of them were actually, I won in a prize. But I will show you the ones that are my absolute favorites that are cheap. I've been using them for years, and they don't even really have a name. I mean, they sell them under different sellers, but there's no real name attached. The names change. But these are needles. They are fixed circulars. They come in multiple sizes. I think the link that I have down below is like 11 different needles. And it's like you get all 11 for that price. It's under $15. So yeah, they're great. What I like about them, the cords do not have memory to them. You know, like your Susan Bates ones that have that, you have the real stiff cords. These are not. These are actually, and see if I can get it to focus. You can see these are actually a wire cord, and then it is coated on top of that with like a plastic coating. So it's very smooth. The joins here, Sue Lothar and I were looking at these needles when we were here when she was here the other day. The join where it is here is extremely smooth. Nothing gets caught on this, and they are slightly bent, which makes it nice when you're knitting because they automatically curve the cords for you. Yeah, these are stainless steel. I have been using these. I've got like, I think maybe 3 different sets of these. They come in all different sizes, all the way down from the real tiny like sock needles all the way up. They also come in different lengths that you can get for the cords. The link that I included down below is for like an average, which is a 32-inch needle, which I think that's what this is. Well, no, it wouldn't be, not looking at this. But anyway, I did include it for the 32-inch cords. And I can send some links in there for longer ones if you're interested as well. But yeah, these are my cheap needles. Like I said, they're my favorites. They work great. They're not interchangeable, which isn't always a bad thing, and I'll explain that when I do my review on the other needles that I have. So I also thought I would give you a review of my interchangeable knitting needles. Now these are Knitter's Pride Carbons. They have nickel tips. This is, I don't know if it's supposed to be a wood. I think it's metal. I'm not sure. And it has the size pressed into here, but it actually, you can see it here. It's actually embossed into here because it's good, because as you can see, this kind of wears off after a while. Now these are an expensive set. I have put a link down below to them. They come in different sizes. They come in double pointed needles. They come in the interchangeable, which these are. and they come in different size interchangeable sets. They do tend to be pricey. I actually won these. They're not something I would have bought otherwise, because this particular set was called the Box of Joy, and it retails for about $134, something like that, because it's a set of, I believe, I forget how many, it was like 12 to 14 sets of needles that went to it and several cords. So what do I think of them after using them? Some of mine that I use a lot, like the size US 5s, I have found that the point section, after a while, the silver wears off and you can kind of see the copper or brass, whatever it is underneath, showing through. I have also run into twisting the cables on this end. Even though I lock them tightly, sometimes they still will untwist. And I also have run into, now this one I haven't used as much, so it's pretty smooth right here. But some of the ones I use on a regular basis, I have noticed this edge right here catching yarn here, and at the join. Now, one thing to note, if you are interested in these needles, I mean, they are very nice. They have a nice weight to them. They feel really nice. I do use them a lot. Those are just some of the cons that I have noticed with it. But if you do get these, the cords and attachments that Knit Pick sells, they are interchangeable with this set. So they are part of Knitter's Pride. So they are, like I said, interchangeable. So you can buy additional cords and stuff through Knit Picks and it will work with these. But yeah, I do use these a lot. They are nice to use an interchangeable set when you're making, especially like a sweater where you start with a rib stitch in a smaller size needle, and then you just, rather than have to change it to a whole other set, you just take the ends off, put the next size needle on, and away you go. So they are nice, but they, you know, they have their pluses and minuses, and, you know, I do like them for the convenience. I like them for the feel. You know, you can tell that they are a quality needle. But those are some things that I have run into after using them for several years, is I do find that sometimes these edges in here do catch my yarn. It doesn't slide as well as it used to when I first had them. Now I'm going to talk about some favorite notions that I have, and again, there is a link down below. My very favorite notions, and I already talked about this before, are these plastic safety pin looking stitch markers. And I'll tell you why they're my favorite. Number one, they don't tend to snag things. Sometimes the safety pin ones can snag. These don't. They work for stitch markers. They actually can be removed, just like a safety pin, which is really handy if you knit or crochet beyond the stitch marker and then it's kind of stuck in your work. So it's nice, it's detachable. Ask me how I know that that works really well. Yes, I've done it on numerous occasions, and if you're using something like this, which is a ring, you can't get it back off again, where this one you can. So I like it. And I also like the fact that they come in different colors. The different colors are nice because if you are working with something where I'll use one color for this beginning of a round, and then like maybe where armholes are, or where there's different things where changes or different pattern, where the pattern repeats are, I sometimes will change colors with the stitch markers because I can find it a lot easier. And they work especially good if you are knitting or crocheting sleeves where you're doing decreases coming down the arms. You can put these in and mark each of the rows where there are decreases in your knitting or crocheting, and that way you don't lose your place as well. And then when you're done, you just pull all the markers out, and by doing them in different colors, it's just easier to count them and keep track of what you're doing. My other favorite knitting notion is going to be a plastic darning needle. Now this is not one that I normally use. My favorite one that I had was pink, and it did not have like a little edge right here. I dropped it down inside my chair or something the other day when I used it, so I went to make this video and I can't find my favorite pink needle. But I like the plastic ones over the the metal ones, and I'll tell you why. I'm of that age where, you know, you wear the bifocals and you still can't get focused on things that are either too close or too far, and trying to stuff a thing of yarn through one of those little holes in the needle, the little eye, is getting more challenging with every day. So I like the plastic ones because it's a thicker needle, and it also has a nice big eye where I can very easily stuff my yarn through it and get the work done to get my ends woven in. So yeah, that's a favorite. And then I'm not going to talk much about point protectors for knitting needles because I'll be honest, I don't use them. I have a bunch. I don't remember the last time I stuck any of them on. Most of the knitting notions and crochet notions that I use are the plastic darning needle and the stitch markers. On occasion, I will use a cable hook, and of the two different types of cable hooks that are out there, I'll show you the different types. There's the shepherd's hook one, and then there's this one. I don't like this one. I don't know what it's called. I never use it. I should just get rid of it because I don't use it. I like this type because this one I've tried using before, and I'll be honest, my cable slid right off the other side. Yeah, it's just, and then you've got to try to knit and work around this thing poking out on both sides. I like this. I can stick it in there. It dangles fine. And when I'm not using it and I'm working on a sweater, I can hang it off the side of someplace and it's not going anywhere. This one, not so much. You can't hang it on anything. I like this one. So I don't know what it's called. Shepherd's crook? I don't know. That's my favorite of the ones that are out there. Now I'm going to talk about a thing. This is available from Knit Picks. It is a magnetic chart keeper. So it opens up. This is all magnet behind here. These are magnets, these purple things. And what you do, I just ripped out my notes here, but we're going to use this for demonstrating. You put your project here. You hold it in place. I've lost some of the magnets over the years. It comes with a lot more. And if you're using a pattern for knit or crochet, you can move this or one of these along to mark your spot. It also, because it has these little clasps, you can attach it like this so it stands up. And it has a couple of, you know, you can put it there or you can make it a little bit wider if you need it a little wider. Has a couple different settings. I just dropped a magnet. I'll get it later, but yeah, it is a handy thing, or you just keep it open like this, but it is nice when you're working, especially with a complicated pattern, because you can use this to kind of mark your spot as you go, you know, so you don't get off on the wrong line. So it asked me how I know that one, because that's happened before too, especially when I was knitting a lace shawl. Lost my place, I think, 9 times and ripped it back out and eventually ripped the whole shawl out. But anyway, so there is that is called the magnetic chart keeper. Now we'll talk about ball winders. And I did try to look when I listed all the stuff down below, I did try to go in and find the cheapest ones I could find that I could still get behind because I've used them. So this is one of the cheapest one. I did not find an identical one like this. I've had this for quite a few years. In fact, mine is broken because my little piece lost a plastic piece here, but this is for winding yarn off of a yarn swift, and the yarn goes through here, hooks onto this little edge here, and then it winds. It has this little knob here because this hooks underneath, like on a table or whatever surface, and then you just wind it up and it fills your yarn up, and then you just pull it off as a ball. So I listed the cheapest one I could find that's looked similar to mine. I think it's a different color, but otherwise it was the same. And the same with the Yarn Swift. Yes, they make wooden ones that are absolutely gorgeous, but I don't need to spend that much money. I can get something cheaper that's going to do the same job. I've had this one for years. It is actually like a bunch of plastic straws, but it works. And it's an umbrella Swift. It has the latch here that you hook it to a table, and then you can adjust how wide you want this. I've wound yarn onto this, I've wound yarn off of this, and it spins very nicely. It does the same job as one of the expensive wooden ones, but this one's like, I think the one I found that was like this, it's just a different color, was like $7, $6.99, something like that. They work, they do the job, and I really like them for winding up hanks of yarn. Stuff that comes like in an already wound into a skein, like your, like your Walmart brand, that type of thing. Some of your Lion brand yarns, if it's already like that, I don't bother to put it on through here. This is for more your luxury yarns that come in hanks that you need to put into balls. I either roll them by hand into a ball, or I use this as well. So those are my recommends for that. And then I am recommending a knit, a notions kit that includes the notions that I showed you with those type of stitch markers and the plastic needles. That is included down below as well. I found one that was like $3 and something, and it has a whole bunch of the plastic stitch markers and all that kind of stuff for a very reasonable price. I think it was like $3.49, $3.99, something like that. Like I said, I'm cheap, so I go for the stuff that's going to do the job at a minimal price. So I hope you have found this video helpful. If you have, please give me a thumbs up. I really appreciate it. And if you haven't already, please click that little subscribe button down below. Thanks for watching. Bye, everybody.